right, ladies and gentlemen, we know you guys can hear us or see us, but you couldn't hear us. But we're live now. We get it because we had the countdown going. So, that's what it is. Listen, this is the debut show or the debut stream, whatever it is, of the NBK podcast, the official NBK podcast. This is the debut of it, ladies and gentlemen. And you're here with us. And we're just going to talk some New York Knicks stuff with you. You know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau wants to win now from reports. That's what I get, Eru. He wants to win now. So I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know, for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. How does Tom Thibodeau, his eagerness to win now, how does that impact the way that the Knicks are going to approach the draft, approach trades, and approach free agency?
Well, first off, I believe that then they're not going to try to get rid of any of their draft picks or anything like that. So we're not going to sabotage the future in any way. But I believe that things need to be expedited because, I've been saying a lot lately that, Tom Thibodeau, 62 years old, man. He's not here to hang out. He's here to, he's all about his business. He wants to win. So, I mean, they're going to try to give him little pieces here and there. In a speedy fashion, because I mean we had guys like Alfred Payton and stuff like that. This is kind of just playing around. But with Tom Thibodeau here, we're not really going to be playing around to that degree. We're going to try to give this guy something to work with, while we're still paying attention to the future.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at David Fizdale, and even I'm just going to keep it to David Fizdale, the culture around the Knicks was like this fun-loving, boys and girls club, summer camp type of feel. That's what it felt like to me. You know what I'm saying? And David Fizdale was the camp counselor, right? The camp counselor that everybody liked. Everybody wanted to be around. And that's what he wanted to be, right? He wanted to be the guy that everybody liked. And so it was this atmosphere where it felt like it was just so lax. When you guys can do what you want, and Mitch's block party and all of this stuff. DeAndre Jordan came in and they showed Mitch and DeAndre Jordan. I guess they were trying to show their relationship together and how cool they were together. But it just showed this fun-loving atmosphere that isn't always conducive to winning. Sometimes you got to have an atmosphere that's a little bit more rigid, that's conducive to winning. And I think with Tom Thibodeau, we're going to get that kind of an atmosphere, right? You're going to get the structure. You're going to get the rigidness, the discipline. You're going to get, you're going to have just team standards. These are the standards that we go by. And if you can't stick with these standards, then you can get up out of here. I think it's going to be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a professional team for once, man. I mean, you mentioned in Boys and Girls Club. Oh my God, that hit my soul, because that's exactly the way I feel every time I watch Fizdale jump up there and say whatever he had to say. Every time somebody says, "Yo, we need to develop this, develop that." I mean, for real, is this the Fresh Air Fund? This is a professional NBA basketball club, and we're going to be developing these guys for 6-7 years. I'm like, what is going on here? It's just crazy. I don't know when that happened, when that culture, that way of thinking started to happen. Because, I mean, I get it. You got to develop guys, get the right coaching around them. But when did it develop to the point where it's literally like a sleepaway camp? Like, what is this?
Right.
Right.
Right. And I think Tom Thibodeau is going to change that. I think it's going to be totally different. And it's going to be intense. Yeah. And if you're not ready to come in and be intense, train, practice, play, work hard, then it's just got to go. I think it's going to be that kind of a culture, that kind of an atmosphere. I know when John Wallace was on the show, he said that Tom Thibodeau was his rookie coach, right?
Right.
And he said, Jeff Van Gundy had it set up where before they even got there, they were already working with some of the star players, Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewells. They were working with those guys, working on their jump shot, doing those type of things. And then when you got there, there was this whole entire schedule mapped out for them. Right. And Tom Thibodeau, after already working 2 hours with those guys, came in with the same type of energy. The same type of energy. And he didn't care if you was the 15th guy or you were the first guy. He came with that type of energy. Like, you guys ready to work today? You guys ready to get it? Let's get it in. Da 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 da. I think that's the type of atmosphere that these guys need to be around. Not this relaxed type of thing. You need someone who is there who is just all about basketball. Yeah. And then has the type of discipline, and of course Tom Thibodeau probably takes this from Jeff Van Gundy. He said that Jeff Van Gundy would expect you to know, if this certain player takes 2 dribbles and pulls up, how many dribbles before the pull up, and certain things like that you had to know. And if you didn't know it, it's time for you to sit on the bench. And I think he explained that from personal experience, because I think that's what happened to him. I think Jeff Van Gundy sat his ass on the bench because he didn't know.
Yeah, when I saw him on the show, I was like screaming to myself, "Yo, ask him what was his experience with that?" Because John Wallace, he had just came off of being in the NCAA finals. Superb game. He talked about it on his own podcast. Man, he was like really, really good. But then he fell in the draft, and somehow the Knicks were able to draft him. So then, talk about the future or whatever. He never really blossomed and became really much of a basketball player. He didn't really have that great of a career, especially with the talent level he had. He always like 12 points a game, that type of thing. And next thing you know, he wasn't in the league anymore. So I just wanted to ask, how did that coaching affect him and whatever? And then just like when did he feel like okay, well, I'm just not gonna cut it, or when did he feel like somebody else was stepping over him, or maybe he wasn't working hard enough? I just want to know that dynamic, because everyone talks about the good stuff, but there's a lot of players that come through this NBA where they all have aspirations to be such great players. But when was it that they decided? They just came to the realization that maybe I just don't have it. I'm just not like
right.
The level of player that these guys expect me to be.
Yeah, because everybody comes to that realization. There was a time when I thought I was going to the NBA. I came to that realization pretty early that I wasn't going to the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah. I went to it was called the Empire State Games in New York.
Okay.
Right? It was called the Empire State Games. And I was in the 10th grade, and I went to try out for it. Now, normally they only accepted juniors and seniors, right? But they let me try out, and I made it to the last round. I got cut in the last round, right? But some of the players that I saw there, I was like, I don't know about this NBA. I mean, I would sit with friends and talk, and we'd be like, yeah, we should be able to make it to the NBA. I mean, come on, right? And then when I seen some of those players there, 6-foot dudes doing windmills and all kinds of wild stuff, I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is really happening. Maybe I should just look at college. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I seen some of the guys there. It was just nuts. It was just nuts. Yeah. By the way, you know what I'm saying, I was in the 10th grade. I got cut, and I probably wouldn't have got cut. I let my best friend use a pair of my sneakers because he went with me. He got cut the week before. I went back. I went to his house, and he didn't have my sneakers, right? Because he played like the last. He played like the last game of the day. He played.
Okay.
He didn't have my sneakers. I was like, oh, I had these freaking red Reebok aerobic shoes.
Oh my God! Were they worn out too? They were
worn out on the bottom, so it was like a freaking smooth as a basketball, worn out basketball on the bottom. And every time I come up the floor, I slip and fall. And
you were playing hockey out there, where everybody else playing basketball.
Exactly. It was down to this last game, and it was me and this other point guard. He was guarding me, and every time I would still get past him, but I would slip and fall. He made the team. He was a junior.
You want to hear my story? What you want to hear my story about basketball?
Yeah, let me hear it.
Because everybody thinks they're going to be in the NBA. So my story, this kind of happened in high school. Well, I'll tell a sub story before I tell that story. I actually played with but I played against Eric Barkley.
Okay.
So I
All
came
right.
from that era. I actually played against him in a tournament. So I had no business in the tournament. No, excuse me. He had no business in the tournament because he was like a little bit above everybody. But he was doing his thing against him, but I was able to score on him a couple times and make a couple plays. So I was feeling myself. But the moment that I realized that I wasn't gonna, the basketball wasn't gonna be for me, actually happened across the street from my high school. I actually played in the street against Jamal Tinsley.
Oh,
And
shit.
Jamal Tinsley wasn't even playing for his school, man. He was going to Tilden at the time. He wasn't even
Mhm.
playing for the school at the time. And he was out there in fatigue pants. He was wearing Timbs. He had on a hoodie. And we out there, basketball shorts and everything. He gets the ball. They want to play. And I'm like looking at these guys like, yo, we're going to destroy these guys. Because I didn't know who Jamal Tinsley was. He's just a street dude to me. Yo, man, when I tell you the whipping that he gave us on that court, and he's wearing Timberlands and then I said, you know what? Maybe basketball is not for me. Because
maybe that's not it, right?
yeah, he was like embarrassing us, like, not just street ball stuff. He was just doing so much things that was like amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
That's
that was my
what I'm
wake-up
saying.
call.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, there's definitely a point, a wake up call when people decide, yeah, it's probably it's probably not going to happen. And I think when you're coming under this regime here, some of these guys might get that wake up call to say, you know what, maybe I'm not going to be what I thought I was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Or maybe
Kevin
I thought I
Knox,
was working hard. Kevin Knox, yep. Go ahead.
yeah, or maybe I thought I was working hard. It's a new level to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a new level to
Yeah, these pads are hitting back here, this drill is not the same,
Shoot, I mean, the first time when I got into college, my first practice in college, and I worked all summer to be ready, to be in shape. I thought I did. First practice, straight off the bat, we did some stretches, 25 suicides, straight off the bat. Boom, I was like, 25? It's like, yo, this coach is wilding right now, 25. We did 25 suicides. Then we did all these layup drills. I've never thrown up in practice before. I didn't throw up, but that was the first time I was close to throwing up in practice. So I think Tom Thibodeau is going to bring that type of culture to the Knicks. And that's a good thing. Of course, that's a good thing. Now,
Absolutely, yeah.
he wants to win, right? He wants to win. And like you said, he's up there in age. He's coached mostly winners throughout his career. With the Knicks, he was with the Knicks when they went to the championship as an assistant coach. He was with Boston, right? When they won the NBA championship, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. He was with Boston when they won the NBA championship. He led Chicago to the Eastern Conference Finals. Derrick Rose, those guys kept getting hurt. He continued to have the team overachieving. Obviously, he went to Minnesota and it was a dud. When you look at all of those teams, though, he's used to winning and used to winning with vets.
Yeah.
He went to Minnesota. He brought Jimmy Butler, right? I think Taj Gibson was in Minnesota too, right? He brought Taj.
Yeah, he went and got his guys. He brought Derrick Rose,
Yeah.
and, the guys that he knows that, that they're gonna, at least like show the rest of the guys, this is what I want. This is what he wants, So that's exactly what he. So that's another thing too. I think we might start to look for guys that he might have coached, or some people that are like in his kind of like coaching circle kind of thing, just to bring him here to I wish I would have had a list of players that are active or maybe like free agents that Tom Thibodeau might try to pull from.
Yeah, I mean, but I can definitely see it. His first season in Minnesota, he was 31-51. The next season, he was 47-35.
Yeah.
Right? They made the playoffs that year, right? And then he was fired when they were 19-21, and he was fired. There's a good chance that they would have reclaimed that season and still had a winning record. But yes, Tom Thibodeau is going to want veterans. Tom Thibodeau, is going to want to try to put together a team that he can compete with. How does that impact what Leon Rose? I think Leon Rose probably wants the same thing, and it's probably the reason why he brought in Tom Thibodeau, because he knows we're on the same page with what we want to do. How is it going to impact what Leon Rose does? Let's start with the trade market. We had conversations all day long about Russell Westbrook. This right here doesn't have to be about Russell Westbrook, but just the type of player that you think he's going to be looking for in the trade market?
Well, trade market, free agency, and all this other stuff. He needs guys that are self-motivated, like players that we love on this on roster that we want to develop and all this other stuff. Like Kevin Knox, we mentioned. Frank Ntilikina has been here for like 27 years and he still hasn't gotten better. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want players like that. He wants guys that are self-starters, that you put them in the scenario, they're gonna play professional basketball. They're gonna be ready to play. It's not going to be none of this. Let me think about the drill that I did. Or whatever. It's going to be about guys that are here to play basketball. They're here to be a professional, and they're here to follow through whatever schemes that he comes up with. And Tom Thibodeau can't come up with a scheme if the guys aren't playing hard. If these guys are like, if they're not in their head, trying to figure it out. He doesn't want players like that. He wants guys that, listen, I assess you guys, the coaching staff ran through it or whatever. We already know what you guys are. So here's a scheme. I want you guys to play. I don't have time to worry about if you're going to play. I need guys to play. So I think that's the mentality that we're going to have going forward.
Exactly.
For this era.
And not even like you said, you need guys to play. When you get to the NBA, I mean, it's different today because so many young players come into the NBA, 18 starting next season, but 19, 20, 21. Back in the day, you didn't have to do that much teaching. Right? Today, you've got to do a lot of teaching. You're running freaking summer league for these guys is like a high school and AAU, varsity teams, because they're so young. And when you talk about the draft coming, not this draft, but next year, and guys can come in at 18 or whatever, guys are coming in. I mean, these guys would have been able to play AAU still at 18 years old. It may have just been coming off. They may be coming to the NBA hot off of their last AAU game or something crazy like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to have to teach these guys a lot, and you're going to have to you're going to have to help out with emotional growth, emotional development, maturity, things like that. I don't know if Tom Thibodeau has time for that. And so he'll be looking for players, I think, in the trade market that he knows understands how to play the basketball game. And he doesn't have to teach that much. You're going to have to teach. If you're a coach, you're going to have to teach. I don't care what level it is. You're going to have to teach something. It's either basketball, manhood, whatever it is. You're going to have to teach something. But I think he wants to probably mitigate that teaching as much as possible. Save that teaching for the summer. But during the season, I want guys that know how to play the basketball game. And guys, younger guys they'll learn. They're going to learn as they play. And you got your assistant coaches who are going to be doing some teaching here, teaching there. But I think in the game, he wants guys that knows how to play basketball. So, and that's the reason why I think you hear everything. You heard so much about Chris Paul, and you're going to continue to hear about Russell Westbrook. If Russell Westbrook doesn't end up with the Knicks, there's talk about Jeff Teague.
I like Jeff Teague. He's a cheaper alternative to everything that we've been talking about. And he's actually, go ahead. You was about to say it.
I was going to say he played for him in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep.
Yep. How long was he in Minnesota with him? Just a year and a half? I mean, the whole thing blew up.
Yeah, they ended up trading him to Atlanta just for like a salary dump type of thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But the writing was on the wall already for Tom Thibodeau's stay in Minnesota. They was already gonna get rid of him, so they just decided to blow it up.
Yeah. Other guys that might fit that mold, DJ Augustine.
Yeah,
right?
DJ Augustine.
Another guy that might fit that mold. I mean, listen, those guys are straight up stopgaps.
Yeah.
Jeff Teague is 31 years old. In Minnesota in 2019, 2020. So he actually played in Minnesota. He played in Minnesota last season. Then he was traded to Atlanta. He averaged 7.7 points. 4 assists. See, my fear with some of those guys is you bring in a Jeff Teague, you bring in a DJ Augustine, and then people are going to be like, why are we playing these guys over, if we draft Kara Lewis? Why are we playing these guys over Kara Lewis? That's what you're going to hear. But the thing is, those guys know how to get it done, or know how to play the game.
Right. The thing is with that, like say, we got kind of messed up because we got guys like Elfrid Payton and stuff like that that are just marginally better than Frank and stuff. So you figure like, yo, how come Frank isn't playing over this bum? But Jeff Teague actually is a respectable player. He actually could shoot. He could run a team still. He's not over the hill right now. He actually could still run the team if he needed to. So somebody like him, actually would be beneficial to teach some of these guys. But it's like something that's missing with this whole culture, because a lot of these younger players, they're kind of entitled, and the fans too, for the most part, they're kind of entitled too, because they're just so, just got their mind just focused on development, and then like somewhere along the line, it just got lost in translation, because development back in the days used to be like, okay, you work in practice, and then maybe you can get on the basketball court. Now it's backwards. People don't just want them to play minutes and let the veterans don't even play. So there's something that's warped and twisted about this whole conversation now, man. It's not like how it was back in the days. It's so different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, you're a coach, man. How do you deal with players like that? Because I know the NBA, is a little bit younger, so it's more closer to like the people that you coach, young people. So how would you deal with that type of thing, going forward?
I mean, see the thing with me, all right. So when I was coaching boys, I switched over from coaching boys to coaching girls about 4 years ago. But when I was coaching boys, now, we had gotten to a point where we had what we called a senior showcase squad. That's what we called it. All right, we were the Southern Maryland Heat senior showcase squad. And we would have all seniors on the team. Not all seniors on the team, majority seniors on the team. And these were guys that hadn't been recruited or only recruited by maybe Division III schools. And we tried to put them in scenarios so that they could be looked at by Division II, Division I schools, right? But we always had a younger group of guys coming up under them, So I would have, say, 6 or 7 seniors, and then I'd have, a couple of sophomores and a couple of juniors on the squad. And a lot of times, those guys, unless they're just super duper talented, they needed a little bit more grooming, right? Those younger guys, a little bit more teaching. And some of the guys, felt like, oh, I got it. I can do this, I can do that already. And the guys that were like that and didn't want to deal with, the work that it took, and sitting on the bench behind a senior, until they got to that point, then we just said, well, I guess you can go find another team, because, there's always plenty of kids out there, right? That want to play basketball. Some kids that really understood it was like, all right, you know what? I get it. I'm going to take my lumps and learn and not be afraid to sit behind, this guy. But when I get on the court, I'm going to find a way that you can't take me off. And I had a couple of guys like that where, they was okay with it. They might be a little bit upset. They'd be okay with it. But then when they get on the court, like, they're busting their ass super hard, and they're doing everything so that I can't take them off. And that's what I used to tell them, like, yo, you want to play? When you get on the court, give me a reason, or don't give me a reason to take you off. Make me say I can't play without this kid on the floor. And I had a couple of guys like that. Now, I had some guys that would, just get upset because they thought that they were supposed to be this, that, and the other thing, and move on to other teams. But so I mean, that's how I handled those guys. Just, hey, if you can't do it, if you're not gonna, if you don't put it in practice, then no chance you're gonna get on the floor. But when you do get on the floor, you got to prove that you belong out there, and you got to stay out there. And that's just the bottom line. Now every once in a while we got a player that was superior athlete, and and they're gonna play. They're a superior athlete. They understand the game. They're gonna play. Right. But guys are afraid to go through that growth process.
Well, that's why I asked you, because I mean, they got you got guys, young guys, whatever. So these are life lessons that they have to learn, to get to the next level, right? So a lot of these guys are not getting that lesson. They just push to the next level. Next thing you know, they're one done college players. They still didn't learn that lesson. They're just being pushed up. They're just being they call promoted to the next level without getting the vital lessons that they need to learn to be successful.
Exactly.
So now you get this player in the NBA, and now you're looking at them. They're looking at you like, yo, what? I'm good. What I'm saying, I'll get it eventually. But no, fam. This is a professional basketball team. They got guys playing. I'm paying for you. We have a system here. Everybody has jobs. Yo, man, you got to do what you got to do. You gotta grow up. I don't care if you're 18 or 20 years old. You need to, you're here. If you can't cut it out here, then guess what? You need to be demoted. And I wish that we would have done that to some of our players, send them down to the G League. Because you need to snap out of it, bro.
Right. And that was my whole thing. A lot of people would get on me last year because I was talking about, I was saying I don't think Mitch is ready to start. I think there was something that came out last year that said that Mitchell Robinson was guaranteed the starting spot. And I was like, nah, that's not the way you go about it. You don't guarantee anybody a starting spot. You let them come in and earn a starting spot, right? Because once you tell somebody, yeah, you're going to be my starter, then there's a possibility that they say, I don't have to work because I'm going to be the starter. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't do that. You know what I mean? You make the guys earn it. That's how you set up a culture. And I think that's what Tom Thibodeau is going to do. I think he will be very veteran heavy, and you're going to see veteran guys playing on the court. Young guys are going to have to earn it. That's the old school way of doing it, and that's the way I think it should be. You got to earn your lumps to get out there on the floor. Whether or not you're supposed to be a superstar, if you get into practice, R.J. Barrett was drafted last year. He gets into practice, and he's doing what he's got to do, and he shows that, listen, I deserve this spot, then you get the spot. But you don't get it just because you're R.J. Barrett. You get it because you went out there and you proved that you're supposed to be out there. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we hold this 90s Knicks stuff too hard to the chest. I got on a 70s shirt actually. But I mean, we hold all these NBA teams, close to the chest. Yo, I love that. That's the reason I'm a Knicks fan, because of what they did in the 90s or whatever. But then now fast forward to the 2020s, we just lost all of that. Back in the day, this conversation, I love it, man. I love to hear you talk about coaching and stuff like that. It gets my juices flowing. But the things that are happening now that's not the case, man. We're not. It's like like I said, we kind of lost something along the way. I don't know if it's just the culture surrounding basketball or whatever, man. But it's just something lost in the translation, and then we just got to bring it back. New Yorkers are also entitled. We think we know everything. Basketball, we're the Mecca, but we're the Mecca, but we kind of lost it. Somewhere along the line. We need to get it back. I don't know how we're going to do that,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking in the newspaper now. They say, I think it was Mark Berman, if James Harden goes to Brooklyn, then Brooklyn's going to be the Mecca, whatever. We'll see. Man. I mean, whatever. But, I mean, if he goes to Brooklyn, that's going to put pressure on the Knicks. It shouldn't. But somewhere, some way, it's going to be in their mind like, damn, all right, we got to do something. You know what I'm saying? But I think Tom Thibodeau is going to bring that old school thought process back. I think he's going to bring that back in the way that he thinks about the game, the expectations that he has of the players on the floor, and it's going to dictate who they bring in through trades if they're going to make trades, right? And it's the reason why you're hearing the Russell Westbrooks and the Chris Pauls, because if you're going to make trades, you might as well make a trade to get a player like that. You don't make a trade to get a Jeff Teague or a DJ Augustine. You can sign any of those guys a dime a dozen in free agency. But I think the way that Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose and those guys think, I think is going to impact the draft. While they're still going to look for young talent, I think that they're also going to look for guys that know how to execute. And don't be surprised if they look at some players who may be a little bit older. Obviously, guys who've been in a winning situation, right? I always talk about Sadiq Bey. He's been in a winning situation in Villanova.
Your cousin.
Right?
That's your cousin, right?
I wish, God, because if he was my cousin, I'd be hitting him up for some dollars.
Yeah, but those aside, he's definitely a player that's on the list for somebody that will work really good under Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, I think he would work great under Tom Thibodeau. Smart, heady guys. So if we end up getting some older guys in the draft, I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard to say what the Knicks are going to do in the draft. There's so many ways that they could go about it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they picked up some older players. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded down and picked up older players, more experienced players, more seasoned players lower in the draft. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe also grab, if they trade down, they may trade down and accumulate a couple more draft picks where they can afford to take a couple of seasoned players, but then also take a project or two.
Yeah, I believe that. That's all exciting stuff, man. This is our time. This is our time of year. We had no games. We don't make the playoffs because we're the Knicks. So I mean, the draft and the free agency, all this stuff. This is what gets our blood boiling, man. This is like the real meat of what it is to be like a Knicks fan at this time.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Good stuff, man.
Without a doubt, man. And then of course, in free agency, they're going to be looking for the same type of players. So that's where your Jeff Teagues, DJ Augustines, and stuff like that come in. Players like that. So, guys that are listening, that are watching right now, don't expect Leon Rose and those guys to get some strong-minded, strong-willed veteran players, I think, that know how to play the basketball game. They may not always look flashy to you, but flashy is not always what gets it. Sometimes you just need guys that know how to do it.
Do it,
and guys that know how to do it. And I think that's what we can expect, man. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm shaking almost, man. We've been podcasting. We was talking before, man. We've been podcasting since 11 o'clock today, man. This is a crazy, crazy, crazy time. It's good stuff, though, man. Yeah, I enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, no doubt. I see someone in the YouTube chat, Michael Jones. He said, "You're depressing with the older draft picks talk." I mean, the thing is, bro, an older draft pick is still 21, 22 years old.
Yeah, 21, 22.
Come on, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Yo, man, sip the Kool-Aid, man. Sip the Kool-Aid.
I mean, they're still 21, 22 years old. And we're not talking about them getting a draft pick from Europe that's 30. A 30-year-old rookie. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, a chain smoker from freaking Poland or something like that,
son. What's up with these dudes out here? And what's up with y'all, man? Come on. Get it together, man. Get it together. But yeah, that's my expectations of Tom Thibodeau and how his will and want to win right now. And I don't think that means that they're going to be trying to go for a championship right now, but they want to be competitive. And they're looking at the division that they're in, and they know they're going to have to come with it, especially if they're going to play them and increase the number of times. Like we said throughout the day, you look at Brooklyn. KD's coming back. Got Kyrie. Maybe James Harden is going to be there. You got Boston, Boston is strong, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Boston is strong. And then
they're like one move away from really making a move, man.
Exactly. They are one move away from really, and they're young. They're strong and they're young. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Let me see who else in the division. You got Philadelphia. Philadelphia is kind of meddling right now. You don't know what's going to happen, but they could end up with James Harden.
Yeah.
Too. You know what I'm saying? They're strong. You got Toronto. They're probably on the verge of, coming down, but they're still going to be strong this year. And then you got the Knicks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah,
I want the smoke, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how can you be in the executive office? How can you be Tom Thibodeau and be satisfied with looking at every single team in your division having a winning record, or at least expected to have a winning record this upcoming season, and then knowing that, we're just going to be down at the bottom, looking up, begging for scraps or something?
Yeah, I don't want that either. I want to have we here. I want to have a we here moment.
Yeah,
I want to be watching the game. Hopefully, I'm with a bunch of Knicks fans, and if we watching the game, we'll be like, yo, what's happening right now? That we are still in our will on the basketball court, whatever, and we can sit back and just be like, yeah, I can't wait. I just can't wait for that, man. So hopefully we on the right path, man. We talking good. but these guys gotta show and prove, man. So I just hope these guys are on the right path because I'm excited, man.
Yeah, man. It's definitely going to be it's going to be an exciting week, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check out Ebru on the Die Hard Knicks podcast. Right? Tell them where they can find it, man.
Just Google Die Knicks podcast. I'm basically, I'm all over the place, man. I'm on every audio platform right now. I'm putting everything on Sportscaster, and then I'm transferring it to YouTube. I'm all over the YouTube comments. So if you want to comment on the video, I'm there for you. I'm on Twitter at Die Hard Knicks PC, Die Hard Knicks podcast on Instagram. So I'm all over the place, man. If you just want to find me, all you got to do is Google Die Hard Knicks podcast, and then you'll see me.
There you go.
I'm trying to stay busy, man. Trying to stay busy.
And ladies and gentlemen, this right here, this is the official NBK podcast, right? Like straight up podcast. It's not the kind of show, like we usually have with Knicks Weekly and when we do the post game and pre-game and stuff like that. This right here, we pick a topic, we bang it out, talking about that topic, and then we're done with it. It's that kind of a podcast, and we'll have some guests on here, and you can expect to see everybody, in small numbers on this show. Saying who's Mark could be on here. Tony Crow will be on here. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, me and Eru's going to be on here. You know what I'm saying? But you expect to see the whole MBK family here. Not all at once, but every once in a while, coming through talking about topics. And we're going to have some guests on here as well, some special guests. So, make sure that you stay with us and join us. I'm putting the link to the official podcast site in the YouTube chat. And if you're already on Sportscaster, all you got to do is go to my website or go to my page on Sportscaster, and you'll see the podcast. You'll see the podcast page. All right, but make sure you go follow the podcast. The podcast is officially on Sportscaster. There'll be some shows that are only on Sportscaster. We're doing this one to make sure that everybody sees it. Some shows will do both. Sometimes it'll be only on Sportscaster. So make sure that you go jump on Sportscaster and follow the podcast. It'll also be out there on Spotify and some other places, Apple iTunes and whatever else is out there. All right, on crazy platforms. So make sure you check out the podcast. Right now, it's going to be featured on Sportscaster. So make sure that you go check it out. All right. Anyway, Eru, man, I appreciate it. Looking forward to see what happens this week. And Tom Thibodeau wanting to win, I think is definitely going to impact the way that Leon Rose moves, man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, can't wait, man. I'm here for it. I'm here for the action.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you. Make sure that you check us out. We're going to be doing a mock Big Boy tomorrow. We're going to be live for the draft. So we'll see you.